Dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to Wheeling Wine and Whiskey, episode 122 at the home studio with our co-host, our esteemed co-host, Chris.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to introduce Lorenzo.
No, he's not a co-host. He's super producer.
Well, he's been
Super duper ooper
bucking
producer.
for the job.
Well, you know, yeah, he has been.
He needs to speak a little more, though.
He does. He's very silent, and it's good because silence is golden.
Yes, we're in the home studio. Weather is fantastic. Life is good.
Yeah.
It'd be better if we could wheel.
That's right. It would be better. But anyways, we don't want to start out on a sad note.
No, we don't. We have a great episode.
This is awesome. Met this individual.
Yeah.
Sierra Trek. So, yeah, Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake?
Yeah. So, no, Jake White of Cartotracks.
Yes, sir.
And so him and his wife, Jennifer, started this company. They have a immense background in geography, which is important if you're going to be doing,
making maps.
Cartography, we learned.
We're going to learn all sorts of stuff. This is like a knowledge bomb.
Yeah, this is a
you.
huge knowledge bomb on GPS and what the difference is between maps and data.
Maps and data.
Yeah.
Data? Is it data or data?
I say data. You say data.
Tomato.
Yeah. Potato. You know, no, we're not going to sing. All right.
Well, when you get, you're going to learn the difference between all this stuff.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about potatoes or tomatoes,
No.
but yeah, there's a lot of great information, and we're going to learn about the GPS network that's whizzing around over our heads and
whizzing around,
and
even the Russian network.
Russian? Is this Russia, Danny?
No, I don't think so. It's a GLONASS.
That's right. I've always wondered what the hell that was.
Yeah.
I see it pop. When I mentioned in the interview that I used to have that Garmin handheld GPS map 60 CSX, I guess it was.
Uh-huh.
That was a wonderful little handheld GPS that was stolen. But they had a.
Don't cry.
No, I'm not going to cry.
You're getting choked up down there.
I went to replace it after the theft, and the newer model from Garmin was the 64 map 64 G.
Okay, I don't know.
And the reviews were terrible. People were like, "This is not as good as the 60." I'm like, so that's just another classic example. We're gonna make it better, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Same price, but not as good. So anyway, sad. It's a sad day. But anyway, great interview.
Yes.
Good times.
Yes.
But before we go there.
No.
I want to do a quick little shout out because we have more anniversaries.
We do have anniversaries. Our patrons.
We love our patrons.
Our awesome patrons.
Yay, patrons.
Where's our applause there? You got the whole sandboard in front of you. Stop sleeping on the job here, Chris. Come on. Am I going to have to go down there? Oh, super producer is pissed right now. I haven't seen him this mad since he got hijacked by Jimmy. There we go.
I got issues, man. I'm just trying to juggle too many jobs. Come on, Lorenzo, do something.
No, he's like, you got the board in front of you.
I know. Well, maybe he can have the board in front of him.
One job.
I have one job.
One job.
Anyway, patrons, we love you. And I want to give a quick shout out to some of the patrons that are celebrating their 1 year.
1
year anniversary supporting this show. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your hard-earned money. So starting out with Dave Code
of Code Nosen, the law firm.
That's right, our law firm, our representation,
he's been good,
keeping us out of the can.
Yes, he's doing a great job, and really appreciate that, Dave. So thank you very much. Thank you for being a patron.
Thank you so much. And then moving on, we have Mike Toronto.
Oh, Mike
Toronto.
Is that first gen Mike?
First gen Mike.
Yeah, first gen Mike.
He's a Toyota guy. But
I know,
supports
but
us.
he was he was one of our early listeners too.
Listeners.
Yeah,
we went all in on the
he
merch
did
too.
That was cool seeing him at Hollister.
I know, wearing our stuff. Yeah. That's pretty killer,
right on,
man.
Mike. Thank you for the support. That's
Thank you very
awesome.
much. Moving on, we got Lenny LePage.
Lenny!
Celebrating 1 year. Lenny, thank you for your support.
Lenny, thank you. Yep. Saw him at King of the Hammers.
That's right. He hung out with
in
us.
our camp all weekend.
Gave me a ride down to the merchandise tent down there. It was a long drive because it was on the other side of outside Hammertown.
Oh yeah.
On the other side. It's a long walk. And we were way up at the top at Hammertown.
The walk on the wild side.
It was so he's like, I was like, I got to go down and get some shirts and stuff. I was like, I'll give you a ride. Like,
I didn't even buy any KOH stuff.
Are you kidding me?
I usually get the Warren shirt, but they didn't have any this year. I have so many damn shirts.
Yeah, you do.
I don't need it.
I do too. I actually moved all my shirts into my camper because I just ran out of space in my house.
Well, there you go.
I should have a whole room dedicated
huge
to
palatial house. You ran out of room in your house.
Ran out of
you
room.
need to look. You found a room the other day.
Well, the home office.
Yeah, so I'm sure you'll be able to find a closet somewhere. Just saying.
Maybe. And then last but not least for this round of
anniversaries.
Anniversaries is Aaron Russell from Australia.
Aaron.
No, A-R.
I know, it's A-R-R-O-N. Aaron.
From down under.
Good day, mate.
Thank you so much for your support. I know it's
right down the street from Charles.
Right, that's right. They're good buddies.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your support. So yeah, we'll just keep. So we're in that time now. We've been over a year. We got patrons that have been here more than a year. Amazing.
This is a good segue. I did get a message from Australia.
Oh no!
Can I play it?
Sure. Let me make it happen.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Yeah. G'day, Charles here. Hey, Aaron and I got our shirts. Just want to say good thanks to Dirtbag Johnny. Thanks for drinking and giving away free shirts. And Lorenzo's Australian cousin Larry says hi. See ya.
Cousin Larry. All right. So they got their shirts.
Hey, that's a legit Australian accent.
That is,
right
and that is, I mean, you look at this phone number, it's like +61 and then goes into the phone number. I'm like, wow.
It's like 100 digits?
No, it's not. It's the typical, area code. And then, well, no, it's interesting because it's 9 digits, but then no, I'm not. And then there's 61 +61. I guess is the country code or whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyways, well, hey, Charles, great to hear from you. And that's awesome. Calling all the way. That was a legit long distance call right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Thanks. Great hearing from you.
Yep. All
right.
Okay. So anyway, that's so yeah. Again, patrons, thank you so much. If you want to, I'm quicker now. I'm getting better at this.
All right, here we go.
Practice. I'm out of practice.
Awesome.
Anyway, if you want to become a patron, it's not required, but we would certainly appreciate your support. You can go to our website, www.wheelingwineandwhiskey.com, and you can click on the link near the top on the banner to become a patron, and you can also find a link for our merch there.
Got to find the Bartles and James one. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Yep.
So,
Needle and Thread.
Needle and Thread. We have, as we talked about a little bit earlier during the beginning of this intro, we had a special guest we interviewed.
Let's listen in to Jake from Cartotracks.
Want to make it happen?
Yeah, let's do it.
Roll it.
All right, Chris, we've got yet another golden interview here on Wheeling Wine and Whiskey.
Give till it hurts.
That's right. And this was great. I met this gentleman at the most recent Sierra Trek.
Yes, sir.
Up there, we were checking out some vehicles in the vehicle show there. Some cool 4-wheel drives, and just started chatting with this individual. And I'm like, hey, I need to get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then it also ties in with the recent podcast we did with Rich.
Right.
We made mention to this. So,
yep.
We had to save up a few pennies here and make an international call. So we're going to try and make this somewhat quick because there's
Calm down, Lorenzo. Calm down.
It's a lot. Yeah. Our super producer here is panicking. He's got his accountant's hat on and going, oh my gosh, the money. So, anyways, we have none other than Jake White from Cartotracks on the line. Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
We're doing good.
Great.
We only have one other individual that how y'all doing, and that's our Georgia boy. We call him Georgia boy, our buddy Kobe from Georgia. So I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, right out of the gate, I'm starting out as a redneck. Perfect. Yeah.
Well, I think
you fit in with the crowd.
Yeah, you probably met Kobe up there at Sierra Trek. He was up there, so. Anyways, yep. So
yeah, I did meet him.
Yeah. So you guys were like two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Did either one of you?
Did you out y'all each other?
Oh, we did. Yeah, it was just nonstop. Yeah. So hopefully your listeners can tolerate me for a little bit.
Oh,
here.
no, we love it.
Yeah. Well, it's good we're on this call. I've got a face for radio and a voice for newspaper. So,
the newspaper one I haven't heard, but that's why Chris and I said we do podcasts, because we got a face for radio.
Well,
so he can edit my voice some and make it sound, like Barry White instead of Jake White. So.
No, Barry White's me, man.
Sounds
Come
great.
on. Hey, what are you wearing, Jake?
Khakis. Always khakis.
Wow.
Yep.
Already.
I'm just coming right out of the gate, swinging, baby.
Here we go. Now, when you and Kobe were talking up there at Sierra Trek, did either one of you say "bless your heart"?
Yeah, but we say it's kind of like code for us.
I know it is.
So, yeah.
he let me in on the secret, so it's
Bless
like,
your
no.
heart.
oh, well, bless your
He's
heart.
not supposed to tell anybody.
No,
Dang it.
he let it out.
He gave us the, what do we call that? The Cliff Notes version of it?
Yeah.
Or the-
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also had, while we were there, and he was in the booth there with BFG, who I was with there for that event, Tim Cromer.
Yeah,
who's,
Tim.
South Carolina boy. So he's in that circle.
Yes.
He's got the secret handshake for the bless your heart. Yeah. Secret squirrel stuff. We don't talk about
secret
it.
squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
This isn't being recorded, is
No,
it?
not yet.
Oh, yeah, no.
Right.
This will all be edited
Oh,
out
good.
if it
Right.
is. No, we're good. Don't pay no attention to that recording light blinking over there. No, it's all good. Well, right on.
Do you want
man.
to talk about maps or something?
No,
or
I don't
what?
know. Yeah, this is how this podcast goes. It's
Rabbit
great.
holes.
So yeah, it was fortuitous running into you up there at Sierra Trek. Wonderful event. Have you been to that event before?
No, I hadn't. That was
Okay.
a first for me. That was a fun experience.
So
Very cool.
what did you think? Being, I know you'd been on the Fordyce Creek Trail before because you had mapped that, right? But you never been to that event. So it's one of the premier events for Cal 4-Wheel for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was impressed. The band, the stage, the little town they built.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was most impressed by the showers.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
Well, there you go.
Unbelievable. I mean, that was one of the best showers I've ever had anywhere.
Out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, it was awesome. And for future participants in Sierra Trek, pro tip, I figured out that the dividing tarp between each shower stall, you can get that little sprayer nozzle around the corner. And Tim was in the next one over, and I nailed him right in the ear. He was like trying to scrub his feet, and I didn't know what I was going to hit, but got him right in the ear. It was awesome.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
So have a little fun with that if in the future.
Okay, there you go.
Camp shower shenanigans.
Pro tip. I love it.
The ladies sitting out at the table were cracking up.
Oh,
They
I
said
bet.
it was the most entertaining. The conversations they hear and stuff.
Oh, I bet, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it was an awesome event. It was really cool.
Yeah, and all the food and yeah, they roll out a good one there. That's one of my favorite trips of the year.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
we do it up right for sure.
So let's talk about your background and how you got started in. I'm assuming you got started in off-roading before you got mapping issues here or mapping off-road trails. So what let's hear about Jake.
Yeah. Well, I guess life for me started in off-roading with a 82 Jeep Scrambler in Birmingham, Alabama, Dad. And I saw one sometime somewhere. I remember saw one. The first one I remember seeing was in a Taco Bell, and Dad remembered me kind of pointing it out and going, "You remember that?" And he came home from work one day and said, "I saw a Scrambler for sale. Do you want to go look at it?" We went and took a look. It was in front of a transmission shop, which is not a good sign. And
No,
it had a tow
never
bar.
is.
It had a
Oh,
tow bar on the
bar.
front of it
Never.
too, which is like double bad omen.
Walk away.
Yeah, right. But we bought it for $5,000. And I don't know the year. I've been like 96 time frame. And like any high school kid, you go find power lines and other things. It had a Warren 8274 on the front, which
that's cool.
Nice.
I found useful for pulling out buddies. There were a couple of not so bright ones that got themselves stuck in Mom's vehicle.
Oh.
And I rescued them a couple of times. So that was just early days of, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But Dad and I did all the work on it together. I learned a ton with this vehicle. They're simple to work on. They're really not that complicated. We didn't really do any extravagant upgrades. It was just kind of fixing things as they broke. And as they broke, we would usually upgrade to something stronger, but stayed in pretty much stock form on into college. Wife and I went on our first date in it. She pushed it on her second date with me.
To start it?
That's when you knew she was a keeper, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. She was, gotta hold on to this one. So, yeah.
Just push real hard and real fast, and I'm going to pop the clutch.
The starter was kind of iffy at that time, and I'd parked it on a bit of a hill, and when we got back to it, it wasn't quite enough hill to roll start it. So it kind of went up this next little rise and stopped, and I was like, you got to push. We got to. So, we got it going. Got her home by 10 or whatever the deadline was. But anyway, so, college, we met rock climbing, and she still had she was going to school at South Alabama in Mobile. I was in Tuscaloosa, University of Alabama.
Okay.
And so we met during the summer. She did one more semester at South Alabama and then transferred to Tuscaloosa at the end of that fall semester. So over Christmas break, she transferred, and most of her credits transferred, fortunately. So
good.
Anyway, and she went into geography studies, just like I had already started off in. Both majored in geography, both minored in geology. My dad's a geologist, so I'd grown up around rocks and knowing a lot about rocks. So that helped, and we both minored in that. And then we started master's program, went through a couple of advisors that ended up each leaving, and we ended up not finishing master's just because they were searching for, at that time, a fourth advisor in physical geography, and we were just kind of done with it. And we were offered a job in Huntsville, Alabama, working for a Department of Defense contractor that did geospatial stuff. That's a fancy word for mapping. And we said, okay, we'll leave Tuscaloosa and go work at this company. That was 16 years ago this summer. Wow. That we, bought this house and moved in here working for that company. We ended up both leaving there. I was walked out the door with my department from some Department of Defense cuts. We worked on contracts, and so we lost the contract and walked my whole department out the door one day. So kind of a bit of a challenge in life. Didn't see that happening. I was almost there 10 years. I think I was in about my 9th year there. But in reality, looking back, it was like a job with no windows in an office, and I was looking with the lights dim, looking at stereo satellite imagery with these glasses on that, like, if you don't know what stereo is, it's basically two shots of the same terrain, but it's at slightly different angles. So when you lay them over one another really quickly, these glasses that I wore would sort that out and kind of mesh them together, and it would make it 3-dimensional. So on the screen, you could see depth. And so I collected information from that imagery on the screen, and I did it for 40 hours a week.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And it was like, there was parts of it that was cool, and then the parts that just weren't fun. So
monotonous.
Yeah, exactly.
How are your eyes?
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't that bad. The eye strain wasn't terrible. It was like seeing a Magic Eye poster. Y'all remember those? It was the same kind of thing. You kind of had to relax your eyes, and it would just kind of come out.
Okay.
And you'd see it. It was weird. And some people just cannot see it. People would interview for the job, and they'd sit them down in front of the machine, and they just couldn't see it. And they were like, "Well, we got to find something else for you."
You can't do this job.
Yeah.
Not gonna do this.
Yeah, right. Jennifer worked in a different department doing nautical charts, which is probably a little more interesting, really important for ships, both on surface vessels and submarines also. So it's really important you have all that mapped properly.
Well, that's not mapped by cameras. That's done by sonar and stuff like that, right? Because obviously, if you just take a picture of it, you're looking at the surface of the ocean.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Imagery does nothing for that. That's right.
Exactly.
So that's a very important job. And they would, she worked there about another 1.5 to 2 years, and left there working for a different company, totally different line of work in a Department of Defense contractor company. That's about all I should say. But cool job, better situation all around. That other company was just kind of struggling. So we haven't really looked back. But after I left that company, did another little stint in another company for a little bit that was in the coal industry. doing mine safety equipment. They hired me as a mechanical technician because the software the old engineers had used to design the system was called MicroStation. And that was a company that had been developed, in the company that I'd come from. So I knew that. They trained me in SolidWorks because I can see stuff spatially really well and can weld and fabricate and do all that stuff just from my Jeep experience, and loved it. And then they decided to move the company to Pittsburgh. So I was like, dead gum, that's 2 jobs in a year. I'm going to have to do something else. So anyway, friend of ours, a guy named Britt Mansell that owns a company called American Adventure Lab that's now based in St. George, Utah, was my old neighbor in college in Tuscaloosa, and he had made a website for an off-road park in Sparta, Tennessee called Golden Mountain. And he called me after building this website and said, these folks need a map, and you got a degree in geography and you're a wheeler. Can you figure this out? And I said, yeah. So we made them a map. We mapped this little property. It's like, as I recall, I think it was 600 acres, somewhere in that territory. So it wasn't huge, but it was just crammed full of trails, just trails on top of trails right next to one another. So we made this map, and it was kind of the first professional map, I think, in this world of off-roading and off-road parks. Because remember, East Coast, we got nothing but private land mostly. There's not a lot of public land anymore for public wheeling. So it's a lot of private property. So this is kind of the first private park that we went in and mapped. And then leapfrogged on to another one called Hawk Pride that's closer to us in Alabama. Britt had made a website for them, called me about them. And then we kind of just backed up and started looking at all these other parks and realized that none of them really had good maps. And the park owners and managers, they know the parks backwards and forwards. They cut most of the trails in, but they don't know how to make a map. They can run around with a little Garmin handheld, but they don't know how to turn that into something that can then be put in the public hand, to wheel with and navigate with. So that's kind of how Cartotracks really blossomed, I guess, and really got going. Really, the next step, I guess, in our business model, or there was no model. We were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, really, where we started, because we realized there was a need and we could fill that need. But I don't have any background in business and marketing and all that other stuff. So everything has been self-taught, and everything I've tried to figure out has really just been trying to use common sense. And,
Google.
Yeah, I mean,
Google, exactly. Right. Google, how do you start a business?
Exactly. So, we filed paperwork, to become a formal business. And that way we can pay taxes, of course.
Yes.
Which is so
fun.
You
want to do that.
We'll just be thankful you don't live in California.
Yeah. It's way worse here.
Yeah. Right. Yep. So a guy local to us had been building this off-road vehicle to race in this thing called King of the Hammers. Guy named Jordan. Yeah, right. Jordan Townsend is the guy's name. He became pretty successful in the EMC class. The 4580 car was built like a mile and a half from our house as the crow flies.
Wow.
Some of the welds on it were mine. Jordan said, you need to call this guy that runs this race called Dave Cole. And I said, okay, I've heard of him. And he said, yeah, you need to call him and tell him what you can do. And I think you could probably do something for him to help King of the Hammers. And I was like, all right, well, do you have his number? And he said, yeah. So he gives me his cell phone number, and I call Dave Cole, just a cold call. All I had to tell him was that I know Jordan Townsend and I can make a map. And
how you doing?
Exactly. But we had a good conversation. I mean, we kind of talked through what I would need and what we could offer, and what we could do is build a map that works in the Mojave Desert without cell signal, and anybody can download it ahead of time, racers or spectators, and I can make a map that does what you want it to do as far as showcasing where you want spectator areas to be and where are the no-go areas and, marine base boundary and all that stuff.
Right.
And he just kind of literally a long, awkward pause. And then he said, let's do it. That's how it happened. And
Boom.
So it was like, wow, cool.
And you had no idea what was in store for you from that point on.
No. And ironically, a little funny divine intervention maybe in the mix. That was like a Friday afternoon. So he said, let's do it. And then about 2 hours later, I got a phone call from a company that I'd interviewed for a job here in Huntsville. They were offering me not only the job, but the money that I'd asked for it. I'd even negotiated the amount, and it was very hard to turn down.
Yeah.
But I, in that phone call, said, no thanks.
Wow.
And it was kind of a, man, what have I done? You know, I hung up and was like, man, that might have been the biggest mistake of my life. I don't know.
Diving into the deep end, baby.
Yeah. I pass that business every now and then and just think about it and wonder, you know, what if. And I'm very happy now. But
I was going to say, you got to go with your gut, though, you know, right?
Oh, yeah.
So something was telling you this, keep down this path.
Exactly. This year was 8 years with King of the Hammers, making race course maps. On occasions, we've been asked to help them build race courses based on the data set that we've got from years past and prior race courses. Some help from a late friend named Mark Matthews that we lost last year to esophageal cancer. Mark and us had become really good friends. Mark had provided a lot of data that we would utilize and help Dave and JT kind of come up with race courses. So a lot of people don't know there were, you know, race courses designed in Huntsville, Alabama. And then,
How great is that?
And we would know about it well in advance. Well, not well in advance. It's always last minute with Dave Cole and all four,
I was going to say, wait a minute.
But, you know, further ahead than most people think, I
weeks
guess.
Before.
And sure, yeah. Hours, right?
Yeah. Seconds before it got released.
Oh, it's being made as they're racing. What are you talking about?
Well, they do. I mean, they do have instances where they got to make last minute changes from, you know, requests from BLM, but they need to have something pretty concrete to send to BLM for approval and the Marine Corps ahead of time. So, but yeah, it's fun to be a part of that and be able to experience that side in the past with them. And we've learned a lot about racing. That was really first ever experience that we'd ever been exposed to racing. We'd just been more of the weekend wheeler crowd prior to that. So
that's cool.
And it's a whole nother animal for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but that was my years. The 2013 year was when I called Dave. That was probably around November of that year. And then by that late January, early February, King of the Hammers in 2014 was our first year that we produced a map and put it out there. So, and it was pretty incredible because we actually, back up a little bit, we had not yet had a means to sell maps on a website prior to that first King of the Hammers. We'd mapped some properties and we'd provided the maps to the park owners for printing, but we didn't have a digital format until we discovered the Avenza Maps app and the way to deliver that file into a smartphone. And then it really was big. So that first King of the Hammers, we were really a fledgling system at that time with our website and the delivery method into Avenza. So it was stressful launching that map and then watching the sales. Just people were buying the maps and we were like, wow, this is really cool. We're selling maps, you know.
So these are the spectators and the rec wheelers that go out to Johnson Valley.
Yeah.
They're buying the maps. They want to know what the race course is so they can go play on it either when the course is not hot or even other weekends or other times of the year when they're down there just recreating.
Exactly. Yep. They can use it at any time. And now that year and for a number of years, all we had there was just that year's race course. And we'd usually leave a year or two prior still on the website just because racers in particular, want to go and pre-run.
Right. So
they'll go and grab a map from prior year and just go run the course from a last year or something like that to kind of get shocks tuned in and everything. So that was useful. Fast forward many years in working with Mark Matthews, and a couple years ago, we probably about 2 years ago now, I guess, or maybe 3, Mark said he wanted to make a map of kind of a master Johnson Valley map. It goes way up north, beyond any extent of any race course that's been run.
Right.
And really show all the Hammers trails and all these other cool places. Mark had been exploring in the valley for a long time, just tooling around in his old 4Runner. He had like an 86 or so Toyota 4Runner, first gen 4Runner on leaf springs. And he just, wheel around and had an immense amount of data and wanted to make a map. So we kind of worked with him. He built a map and we helped him refine it and then published it to our website for people to use and download. It's called Cartotracks Guide to Johnson Valley.
Cartotracks Guide to Johnson Valley.
Yeah, that was his old school pirate username was Turtle Truck.
I got you. Okay.
So, and I think his little avatar was a little miner, like a gold miner or something guy, I want to say.
Old
but
miner,
anyway,
49er.
Turtle Truck. Yeah. But Mark was a super guy. And by the way, so when we launched that map, I kind of negotiated with Mark trying to figure out how we wanted to handle the finances side. And we agreed we would give him a percentage back, and then we would keep a small bit ourselves just to help maintain the website and stuff. He had no issue with that. So we would mail him or send him payment, from the proceeds. So when he passed, or before he passed, we knew what was going on. The cancer was really taking its toll on him, and we knew it was kind of getting close. So he called us, and we had a talk. And I said, Mark, why don't I suggest something? I suggested that we would do a donation as honor, for that percentage to something. But I wanted him to pick it. And he said it was a good idea. He liked the idea, and he started looking for a organization that was kind of a charitable organization. He found one that was okay, but he said he wanted it to be a 501c3 nonprofit. And so he said, this one's good, and I like this idea, but that's not what we're looking for. I want it to be a 501c3. And I was like, okay, well, keep on looking and let us know. And then he passed away, and we missed the opportunity to really figure out really what he wanted. So I've got some contact with his daughter, and I think we're going to try and see if we can pick something collectively with the family and figure out what would be something to honor his wishes.
Sure.
And carry it on, and we'll keep it updated when we can. And so anyway, I can't talk about any of this experience with King of the Hammers without talking about Mark a little bit.
Sure.
Kind of wanted to share his name. A lot of people in the wheeling world knew him, and he's just kind of a behind the scenes wizard behind the curtain kind of guy. I was real quiet and reserved, but man, when he talked, you listened, because he just had something special to say every time he talked. He was a really neat guy.
Awesome.
Miss him a lot.
Yeah, and the history, it's always good to know some of these backstories, because it's people, whatever, you don't think about it, but there's always more to it than what's on the surface, and that's really cool.
So real quick, I mean, that's great story, and it kind of leads into my question is he's bopping around Johnson Valley making these maps, and I know Rich Klein had kind of mentioned it briefly during our chat with him a week or two ago, but he talked about the technology that you guys use to make the maps, how they're super accurate, and what goes into how they're generated. Can you dive into that a little bit? I don't know if it's proprietary, or if you can tell us about the tech you guys use. We'd love to hear about it.
I'll tell you everything I'm comfortable telling you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so there's a little bit to it that I don't share a lot, but so what Mark was probably using, and I'm pretty sure I've got this right, was just a Garmin handheld, probably like a 60 series little handheld GPS unit.
Great unit, by the way.
They are good.
I had one and got stolen out of my camper when I got broken into. And miss it greatly.
Yeah, I mean, they still work if you haven't had it stolen. But yeah, they're so the earlier ones, it's a little bit about GPS technology. Some of the earlier ones only use the United States GPS constellation. So a lot of people, we've all heard of GPS, Global Positioning System.
Yep.
Not too long after that 60 series came along, they started to build GPS chips in those that would also see the Russian constellation. There's also Russian satellites that are flying over our head.
Yeah,
the Russians. Yeah, we're all colluding with the Russians now. So, and that constellation is called GLONASS, GLONASS.
Yeah, okay, I've heard of that.
And so, so what that means is, let's say, for instance, you are in a really tight canyon in Johnson Valley. You're in Chocolate Thunder or something like that. And if you've ever been there, you've seen how steep the hillsides are, going up the sides of that canyon wall.
Right.
So if you are standing there in the canyon in front of your rig and you look up at the sky and you could see a satellite, you might have 5 that are visible, so to speak, between peak to peak, either side of that canyon.
Okay.
So the GPS's visibility, air quotes here, is 5 satellites that are GPS. But GLONASS is also up there. And there may be 5 of those as well. So the accuracy increased because now you're looking at 10 satellites that you can connect to, if that makes sense. So, and sometimes it's far fewer. I mean, you might only have 3 up there. Really, you only need 3 to be able to triangulate the position. But yeah, that opened up the door for better accuracy in scenarios like that. in the eastern United States, we have these things that are called trees, and they cause quite a bit of, just a few. Most of the time, they have leaves on them, and those leaves are full of water, and that water is very bad for GPS signal. So when you're trying to see through that canopy of leaves, you have an advantage there if you can see the GLONASS satellite. So the GPS unit that we now run, that we've been running for many years now, is what you would call like a surveyor grade GPS unit. The hardware, the GPS unit, the external antenna, and the software that runs it, both on the unit and on a desktop, the whole package is probably in the $6,000 territory.
Okay.
So we put our money where we need to have our money, is in accurate GPS units.
Right.
So that unit I've had instances with Rich on hot desert sand in San Hollow where I've processed that data, which I'll talk about in a second, and it's been able to collect half an inch accuracy.
Wow.
Which is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm a map geek and I still get kind of geeked out by that. That's pretty impressive. A half an inch.
So this isn't differential GPS. This is because
it's a little different. So what this does is you got the two constellations. You have GPS and GLONASS. So your unit's looking at those and you're collecting data with it.
Right.
And typically, in metric terms, it's usually floating around like live data while I'm using it. It's about 1.2, 1.3 meter accuracy.
Okay.
And then save that survey, as they call it, that file or whatever that I'm working in. And then there's a couple of hours you got to wait. And then you can upload it into a laptop that runs some software that brings in ground control station data. So there's ground control stations all over the United States that are like absolute known points, and they're constantly spitting out data. And so this software connects with that, brings it into the equation. You can kind of think of it kind of like a third constellation, sort of.
That's fixed on the planet.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's on the Earth's surface. It's terrestrial point.
Gotcha.
So it brings that data in, and that 1.2 to 1.3, 1.4 drops well below a meter. And depending on your conditions, like San Hollow, you can get half an inch. In the southeast and Canopy, in the middle of summer, where those leaves are full of water, I can still get half a meter accuracy, which is pretty incredible under the canopy. So it was pivotal and critical for us that we buy a unit that can handle collection 12 months of the year, so I can be effective at any time and not have to wait till the winter during leaf off period. So
right.
It looks like a giant Texas Instruments graphing calculator. It's really nerdy looking, kind of heavy, but it works. And so yeah, that's how that thing worked. It's pretty impressive. The company that makes it, they're based in Utah, and they're actually geared more towards agriculture and forestry. And that's why we went to them, because that's the kind of conditions we work in. The other companies are all working for, or they're selling to cities and municipalities that have what's called a GIS, a Geographic Information Systems. Most cities have these, and they're like recording manhole covers and power pylons and road widths and all that kind of stuff for urban environments, but they don't have to deal with trees much. So this is a better system for our game plan. So, but then the real magic happens. So that's the GPS, that's the hardware, that's getting the good data on the front end.
Right.
But then where the real work happens is I bring that data home. I do a little bit of cleanup of the data. It looks really clean. You know, if you look at a smartphone track, if you've ever run a GPS track on a smartphone, you know what I'm talking about, or even a Garmin, it's still like zigzagged and there's it's kind of jumpy and all that. This line work is stupid smooth. It's so clean. And the intersections are really nice and clean. It's really impressive data. So that helps a lot on the back end for cleaning it up to produce a map from it. But I do a little bit of cleanup, and then I hand it off to my wife, Jennifer, and then she makes it look pretty and does the actual cartography. So
what is cartography?
It is a fancy word for map making. That's all it is. It's So that's it. So and our business name Cartotracks comes from Carto and cartography, and then we called it tracks. It was just kind of a made up name, really, because we're collecting everything in GPS tracks. So I just kind of made it up. Perfect. And nobody else, was using it. So that's where it comes from. So
perfect.
But the premise of all this is that really it in this world that still makes maps for off-roaders. Everything else is data, and there's a big differentiation between just having a GPS track, which is points, lines, and area, like a KML or a GPX file is that's points, lines, and areas, and it's only going to display that for you as best it can. We actually make a map from it, and it's got, the line work is all symbolized with colors, attribution on points of interest, obstacles on a trail. Everything is pretty much geared towards the wheeler that needs to just look at it and not have to tap the screen again to try and pull up information. Everything is there that they need in one file.
Okay.
So it's really kind of unique. It's an actual map. It is digital, but it's a map. And that's very different from pretty much all of our competition, which is an app first, and they're trying to serve up data coming from various sources. So it's just serving up that data to the user for display, but it's different and it has its challenges. And so, yeah, that's kind of the big difference, I guess, is that we're making maps, which is weird. And it's just become kind of, I don't know, cliche, or I don't know what the word would be really, but a lot of people talk about those other apps and call it a map, and it's really not a map.
Technically not a map.
That's right. Yeah. So I try and explain that without sounding too geeky and nerdy about it, but there is a big difference. I mean, once they've used one of our maps, they realize what I'm talking about. It's like, oh wow, yeah, this is like really easy to read and navigate with. Not having to tap the screen to pull up icons and information, to figure out what this point is. It's symbolized as a bathroom on the Rubicon. Oh, that's a pit toilet. I know what that is. Right. I mean, it's just kind of logic, but you just kind of forget about that kind of stuff. So, those kind of things. And our properties that we map in the eastern United States, the private parks, we go to the tax assessor's office and we get the files that are necessary to display the property boundary. So the bounds of the property and know not to go out of bounds or you're trespassing. And so that's nice. All those property maps and park maps are delineated by the property line all the way around it. And we bring in contour data from the U.S. Geologic Survey, import that into our map. So you have contours, so you can see what's up and what's down. And then all the line work and attribution of points and, all that kind of stuff is collected by me. So it's quite the package. It takes a lot of work. A lot of people don't even realize kind of what all goes on behind the creation of that.
Behind the curtain. So
that's right.
What is it? I mean, just, you walked us through the process there. Is it a week? Is it a month? I mean, what realistically for an average trail, let's say, I don't know, we would take Rubicon or Fordyce or something that we're familiar with, but how much time is involved with that?
Well, there's lots of different steps, obviously, along the way, as I described. So each one, I kind of talk through those. Like, for instance, the Rubicon. I did that trail. I rode shotgun with a guy named John Arentz.
Good old John, yeah.
Very well-known guy on the trail. He's the guy that drove the Unimog pumper truck. So I figured, if there's somebody that's going to know this trail well, it's the guy that can manage a Unimog full of poo. That guy's got to know the trail pretty well, right? So, yeah. Actually, I didn't know him before I went to the trail. Actually, Amy, her last name's pronounced like 50 different ways, depending on who you talk to. But I say Segraves. Segraves. Yeah. Amy's the one that connected us. She kept just chomping at the bit for me to come and map the Rubicon and map Fordyce. And last year at Trail Hero, actually, she came to Trail Hero with her family, and she got home and was just like still thinking about it, and was like called me and said, "Can you just come?"
just
from
just
San Hollow.
Yeah.
And I was having some issues with my scrambler, so I said, "Let me limp this thing back home, and then I'll fly out. Let's figure out a time." And she said, "I know just the guy." So she's the one that connected me with John.
Okay, very cool.
So that was a huge rabbit trail I just went off on.
No, that's good. We do that all the time.
How long does it take? Yeah, well, it depends on if Jake's talking or not. So John and I ran the trail in 3 days.
Okay.
We went in and camped the first night just past Little Sluice. Got up the next day. We went and ran the new Rubicon Trail Foundation property loop. This Granite Bowl loop. I think we were the first ones to go in and collect it professionally, that loop. So that's on the map. We came back out, camped again, and then drove it out the last day all the way out to Homa or Lake Tahoe, I guess.
Well, it's a homo, yeah.
And then we came back and looped back around, stayed at his house, Pollock Pines, one night. And then the next day we went up and went in the Wentworth Springs entrance just in his JK.
Okay.
Just because we needed to get that collected. And that was just the logical, easy way to get that last bit. So went in Wentworth Springs to the T where the Loon Lake entrance comes in and intersects, and turned around and ran it right back out. So that was total 4 days. And that's John just being a great driver and a capable vehicle, just cruising through. And he's telling me obstacle names and points of interest, sharing tons of history. I wish I could have recorded all of it into the GPS somehow, but
yeah,
really fun experience. I mean, I got just the top tier experience getting to wheel with him and ride with him and see it. Jeep engineers with FCA were on the trail ahead of us in the electronic Jeep Wrangler, and we were hearing radio communication and figured out what they were doing. It was a weekday, so they were out there hoping nobody would see them.
Right.
And so that was kind of neat. We saw a couple of parts that were on the trail that we were like, that's not off of anything normal. That was some weird, they were having
like
some
spaceship.
challenges. Yeah, but I mean, these were stock Wranglers, electric Wranglers, and they were kind of doing final testing before they went out to dealers. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, so that was about 4 days. We did Fordyce in a day, which was a very long day, leaving his house in the morning. That's a long day,
yeah.
Towing up there, running all the way up Fordyce, coming back down it to Committee Crossing and exiting stage right.
Yeah.
And then going back down, back on trailers, and then back down. It was a very long day, but cool experience. So anyway, so fly home, post-process the data myself. I do a little bit of cleanup. That's just a couple of hours. And then Jennifer takes the reins, and with a day job, she's working nights and weekends on stuff like this. So it's just kind of a matter of her squeezing it in with other things to do around here. And it's about total a week, working at night on it for her.
Okay.
And then we would come up with I'm working with her. She's got questions because she hadn't been there. Most of the information's in the data, but there's little questions about how an intersection should look and, attribution and stuff that we need to agree on. And then sent a draft to John to put before some of the folks with RTF, Rubicon Trail Foundation.
Right.
And they had just a couple of things. We probably had a couple little misspellings and just some little stuff, nothing major. And then we posted it to our website. So
looking at it right now on the website, actually.
Cool. Yeah. So, total, you could call it 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
If you just work straight, we got so many projects underway and things going on that you just kind of have to work it in the mix sometimes. So, but back to back, it would be like 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's with travel and everything. So,
wow.
Yeah. There's other projects that take a lot longer. It just kind of depends. Those are like linear trails.
Right.
You get in a private park. Some of these parks in the Southeast have 50, 60 miles of trail and a 1,700 acre property. There's a lot to the cartography when you have trails that are that close to one another and trying to, put the name of the trail either on it or do a number, and then you have a legend. So you got to decipher, what the number is and the name of the trail.
Well, like Sand Hollow, those trails are all on top of each other and real close to each other.
Yep. That was a challenge. And Rich. So let's go talk about Rich.
Let's talk about Rich.
Let's talk about Rich.
Hey, great interview. We just had an interview with him.
I know. I just listened to it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not just because we're mentioned in there, but it's just fun. I learned some things about Rich I didn't know. Rich is a good guy.
Yeah. And people are going to learn things about you that they didn't know too. So that's the great thing about this podcasting thing is just getting to know people a little bit better and
that's right.
what they're all about.
Yeah. So Rich and I, our website, our original website, Cartotracks.com, was created by this group that also had made the first Trail Hero website.
Okay.
And the lady that was with that organization contacted me one day and was like, I've had this conversation with this guy, and I think y'all need to talk. You need to know one another. And so I probably guess it was through Facebook or something, got connected first and maybe a phone call or something. And then decided that we would probably meet at that King of the Hammers. He was actually going to be out at KOH that year, back when he had the little Willys buggy, 2016. So I flew to Vegas, drove to King of the Hammers in a rental, hung out, did some things during the week, watched KOH and met Rich. And then after KOH week, drove all the way back through Las Vegas and all the way to San Hollow and stayed at Woody Swearingen's house. And Rich came over, and Woody and Rich and I just kind of had a powwow and tried to figure out a game plan for mapping San Hollow, because it really hadn't been done before. There was no real comprehensive map ever made of the mountain, and there were actively trails being created at the time and continue to be to this day. So I really kind of had to get my head wrapped around it, because it's like it's foreign territory to me. I've never been here and don't know about it. We went out, Woody and I went out one day, and he kind of showed me the mountain. And anyway, kind of came up with a game plan in hopes of, garnering some support from some local clubs and businesses and so forth while I was there. And then I flew home. A couple of months passed, and we were really kind of getting close to Trail Hero time, and Rich was kind of getting nervous. Some of those things and the contacts that we'd made really hadn't come to fruition. So Rich was like, "What's it going to take?" And I was like, "I just need to book a plane ticket and come out there. Can you wheel me down all these trails?" and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I think in the time that I was between that conversation and flying, he sold the Little Willie's buggy. So it was like, man, what are we going to do? By the time I'd landed, he had borrowed Sean. Oh, goodness. I can't remember the guy's last name. I want to say it's Sean Wilson. He, too, passed away years ago, but he was a big part back end of King of the Hammers and Ultra 4. He was kind of known as the mayor of Hammertown. But anyway, he loaned Rich his buggy. Okay. And we wheeled for a week and a half solid. And in August at San Hollow.
Hope you had a lot of water.
Like late August. And it was brutal. We would wheel. We got up before the sun came up, and we'd get out there and unload the buggy off the trailer, and we'd be wheeling by the time the sun's coming up, and make it till like mid-morning before it was just intolerable. And we'd go inside midday, and I'd post-process my data from the morning. He'd do business stuff promoting Trail Hero. And then we'd go back late afternoon and wheel into the night collecting these trails.
Wow.
And it was so hot. There was one day, I don't remember what trail we were on, but I was going to get out. There's times where it's just more efficient for me to get out and walk them, because it's just, not to discredit Rich's driving ability. It's incredible. But there are times where you've kind of just got to scratch and claw and try and get your way up something. And the data shows that. So I got to clean it up. So it's like, I'll bail and I'll go walk to the top. You can loop around and pick me up at the top, and we'll go hit the next one.
Right.
Makes
so I was
sense.
trying to get out of the buggy, and he's holding the GPS, and I went to climb out, and I couldn't get out, and my boot had melted to the transmission tunnel.
Oh my
And
shit.
I was wearing these Keen boots, and like the toe is mostly rubber, and it was stuck to the tunnel. It was so hot. And
Oh my God.
he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I can't get out.
My boot is
stuck."
melted.
So like I had to pull my foot off the tunnel. It didn't make it through the boot, fortunately, but we were just hot all over. But it was brutal. But anyway, so yeah, end of that time, I heard Rich say something that I'll probably never hear again. But Rich Klein told me he was done with wheeling for a while. And like, I don't want to wheel anymore. I need a break. So that was kind of a funny moment. But
yeah, that's just just the environment, just too hot, too crazy.
Yeah. But we got it all done, and we came home, made a map from it. I had another event in between that trip, and I'd actually gone back to Golden Mountain, where it all started for me in our business. That first map we made, Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association has an event there back in the day, and then I was there. And on the way home, I stopped in Lynchburg, since this is the podcast that mentions this whiskey stuff. Stopped in this little town called Lynchburg, Tennessee, which is on the way home, 30, 40 minutes from us. And
What?
bought a bottle for Rich and had it laser etched for the inaugural Trail Hero. And thank you, Rich Klein.
Very cool.
Took it to him as a gift for that first year. And that tradition's continued. And there's a surprise for him this year. We're changing it up, and he doesn't know what that is yet. So, it'll be pretty cool. So.
Well, just to let you know, we have room on our shelves too, and we're accepting gifts.
Oh,
just
right,
to let you know. Just, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
that's good.
Man, since that first year, apparently there was some kind of lawsuit or something where somebody came in and they had a logo that they did. Jack Daniels, etched it in, and was involving one of our military branches. I want to say it was Navy or Air Force. Some, a military member of our military went in and to do this as a gift for somebody, in their unit or something. Who knows?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
And apparently that institution didn't really like the use of their logo, and so you have to have quite a bit of proof that you have permission to utilize a logo. So it became a bit of a challenge, but all I got to do is tell them I know Rich Klein, and they're like, "Oh, of course. Well, yeah, you're good to go, right?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
World famous Rich Klein. So yeah, his head's getting bigger right now. Yeah.
He's going to break away from sweeping. So just,
yeah, right. Yeah.
So how many trails are mapped at Sound Hollow that you have mapped on Cartotracks?
Oh, goodness. I don't even know, honestly. We've got the main mountain is broken up into 3 maps, and Jennifer's actually working right now to try and consolidate those. We're going to try and make it at least the West Rim side and the main mountain. We're going to try and make that one. We were worried that it was just going to be an issue in file size originally. That's why we split them up, because it's an issue. It takes a longer time to download a map if it's a really big file. But we've mapped Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway is probably our biggest file size, and we're nowhere near that at Sand Hollow. So I think we're going to be safe. So we're going to try and consolidate that. But there's a lot. That's all I can say. There's probably a good, I'd say at least 30 trails now on the main mountain or more. And then what I love about the Sand Hollow area and Trail Hero is that the mountain is what everybody knows, and we know those trails. You see YouTube videos and maybe you've been, but there's a lot of other trails in the region that are really cool, that have a lot of variety to them. It's not the same sandstone. There's other stuff. You can drive on volcanic rock in places. There's quite a bit of lava flows that are in that area, so that's kind of neat.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like Rattlesnake Gulch is probably one of my favorites. That's kind of on the east side of Hurricane, kind of northeast of Hurricane. That's a good one. Rich in his talk with y'all on episode 120, he talked about Tokerville Falls. Rattlesnake Gulch ends at Tokerville Falls.
Okay.
So his route in is kind of a little bit easier, obviously, but Rattlesnake Gulch is just, it's really cool. I mean, you're just driving up this canyon in the bottom. I've driven my Scrambler up it on 33s. It's not crazy hard, but it has a few challenges. So that's a cool one. It's got a really cool, there's this bend in the trail, kind of close to the falls where you're driving on limestone, and it's the river's cut down into the limestone. So you drive right up next to this just sheer drop off that drops down 20 feet probably down to the water. And it's just this narrow little gap. It's really cool. And it's in this bend. It's just a neat place. It's a great place for a trail ride to stop for a lunch and hang out.
So can you do both of those trails in a day? Would that be like a good day run there?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a good loop. You could go all the way. In fact, you start on Nephi's Twist, which is it's on the highway that runs out to Zion National Park. So you could turn off of that to enter in Nephi's. Nephi's turns into Rattlesnake, and then Rattlesnake pretty much ends at Tokerville Falls, and then you can loop back. And coming out Tokerville Falls, there's a little offshoot trail that runs up to these towers up on a bluff that looks all the way down the valley. So the view from up there is just phenomenal, looking down over Tokerville, the community, and on down over Hurricane. And you could see, on a clear day, you can see all the way down to St. George. It's really cool. That's a cool place. And then you can drop back down off of that little offshoot trail and then ride. It's like an improved gravel road. It's got some challenging sections that have gotten a little rough, but then you can hit the road back there in Tokerville and just ride south back down Hurricane. So, yeah, it's an awesome loop.
I'm going to have to hop in somebody's street legal rig. I'm putting air quotes because my buggy is nowhere near street legal. I know they're pretty off-road friendly there, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get down the highway in that thing. So I'll have to hop in with somebody and check that out when we're there in October.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure.
All right.
And of course, just Tokerville Falls, it's really popular on Instagram. If you just look for the hashtag Tokerville Falls, you could get there in a Subaru, I guess, but so it's pretty accessible.
Will Toyota make it?
For the Insta folks. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Whatever.
We bag on Toyotas here
a little bit.
Just
right
friendly camaraderie. Yeah.
Of course.
Jeep people got to stick together, you know.
That's right.
I know. I know. So, yeah, I mean, with enough momentum, I guess a Toyota could make it. I guess. I don't know.
You got to keep that second transfer case disengaged.
Okay, so you got your. Let's walk through this process. So you've got these maps on this website, and then you can purchase these maps. The user can purchase these, and then the app that you use is Avenza.
Correct.
App to that you download or upload whatever these maps into.
Yep.
And then they're available. Obviously, once you have it on your phone, you do not need to have service for these maps to operate.
That's right.
You got it all saved into your phone, and off you go.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. So the customers have options now. We redid our website January of 2020, and with that came some cool new features and options with the website. So if you hadn't been to it in a while, if customers listening and hadn't visited the site in the last year, you should check it out, because you can now, we have two options for a subscription to a map. So if you buy a map from us, you're entitled to updates. So if we update that file on our server with a new map, Rich and I get some new trails that we add to the Sand Hollow map, you will get a notification. As soon as I push it to the server, you'll get an email, and it says, hey, you remember that Sand Hollow map you bought and downloaded? You can now delete it out of Avenza, and then on your website, on our website, under my subscriptions, you can go and see that map listed under your subscriptions, and you can tap a button to download into Avenza, and it'll re-download the new file from our server. So that's cool. So that's an option, is the 1-year subscription. And then we've got an annually renewing subscription option on a lot of maps, where you can just lock into it and it'll just recharge you every year, less than the full amount for just a 1 year. It's a little bit cheaper if you just subscribe to it in perpetuity. That way you've always got the latest. So that's a cool option. Some people are just like, I want to do it once and I want to forget it. So the only time that would change is if your credit card expires or something. So, and then we'll ping you and say, hey, that's no longer good. You got a new one.
Yep.
You just enter it in. So, and then the other thing that changed last year with that new website revamp was, as I mentioned, in my subscriptions, when you see a map that you bought, you used to have to copy a link and paste it into Avenza, and it was a royal pain for everyone, us included, because it was just nothing but problems. So now in the browser on your phone, under my subscriptions, you've got a green button that says tap to download an Avenza.
Yeah.
You tap it and it says, do you want to open Avenza? You say, yep. And it kicks you over to Avenza and starts downloading.
Off she goes. That's
so
great.
Yeah. Nice and clean. It's eliminated a lot of issues that people were having. But it's funny, I had those phone calls with customers, and it would blow them away that a human being would answer the phone, and I might be speaking another language because I'm in Alabama, but
foreign country.
But I could help them. I mean, I would work them through that process, and they were a customer for life half the time, because it was just like, wow, somebody actually helped me. And it's, old guys and young guys alike. There were people that had issues with things sometimes. And so we kind of learned some of the quirks of the technology, and we'd find go-arounds and help them out. So that's what we do. We're a small business. That's how it works.
Right. That's awesome. Yep. I mean, let's face it, technology, is crazy and ever evolving. And, we've got some friends that are super tech savvy, but, there's always hiccups or glitches or just a learning curve. And by a quick phone call, you could shorten that learning curve real quick and get that map downloaded and off to your favorite trails. So
exactly.
That's cool that you guys are that accessible.
Yep. Right. The pro tip to everything, though, is always trying to do it before you leave the office.
Yeah, dude, don't do it on your drive up.
When you got the good Wi-Fi at work. Yeah. Not in the Mojave Desert, Johnson Valley.
Or trying to stand by the cell phone tree where everybody else is trying to get service.
That's right.
Hey, that works.
It does work. It's totally legit. My buddy, we were there, and I go, he saw on my map a cell phone tree, and he goes, why do they call it the cell phone tree? I'm like, duh, that's where everybody's cell phone works.
It's interesting. I mean, you kind of mentioned that about King of the Hammers. The first year I went was like 2015 or 2016. And everybody was telling me, oh my God, once we get out there, first of all, I had no idea the scope of the place, but they're like, oh yeah, there's no cell service. There's no Wi-Fi. You're completely disconnected. And it's this, that, and the other thing. And so we get in, we're in our cab over campers, and we find a parking area to set up our camp up in not Upper Hammertown Heights, but Hammertown Heights. And, we unload and you get set up our camp and we say, let's go down to Hammertown, check it out, blah, blah, blah. We're running around. And then that night, it was like we had dinner and had a little campfire. And then it was like we'd been driving, so we're kind of tired. So we all go to bed. And I'm like, man. So I had my phone fired up and I'm like, I got Wi-Fi. That year they had these Wi-Fi towers set up all around Hammertown Heights that were powered by 12-volt batteries. So I had internet in my camper for that trip, which was kind of a trip.
Yeah, years ago. Now you pay for it. But anyway, that was just my little whatever. Nice. Thanks for that. Thanks for that rabbit trail. Chris had Wi-Fi back in 2015 at the Hammers.
That's right. Now we always have it, but yeah, whatever. So
hey, so you've got these two subscription S, so the 1 year or the annual renew, and I know you can get, you don't have to. You can get the maps that you're going to use, right? Like for us, Rubicon, Fordyce, and then, Sand Hollow for me. One of these days, I hope to get over to the East Coast and get to wheel some of those cool trails over there around you too. So, but you can, a la carte this stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And I use that term too. That's kind of how it works for us. So if we've mapped it, it's the best map that you're going to have of that area. But we haven't mapped everything. So that kind of is a good segue into the other part, I guess, of this discussion and the differentiation between us and pretty much everybody else. The number one difference is we're making maps. And, we talked about that earlier about how we're making maps and others are basically displaying data.
Okay.
So in the world of off-road navigation these days in 2021, it's interesting. I've coined a phrase and I'll use it a couple of times here and maybe y'all like this. I don't know, but I call them apping companies. Mm-hmm. It's not mapping, it's apping.
Right.
Apping companies. And basically it's an app first. They've developed an app that's designed for navigation. And what that app does though is just display data. And so it is not really a map, but it's just serving up points, lines, and areas to the user in the best way they can. Some of them look good. Some of them don't. It just kind of depends on the company and how much money they put into it. The problem is that most of these apping companies are really good at developing an app, and they've done the app and they've done a good job of marketing it. However, they don't have any data to start with. So they're crowdsourcing the data.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that opens up a can of worms when it comes to navigation for land use issues. A lot of issues that can be created by this because you have a user that some of them are really good. There's people that are very, very critical about how they're running a trail and collecting it. And they're maybe going the extra mile and buying an external Bluetooth GPS unit that might go outside of the vehicle to get better signal.
Yep.
Right.
Something like that. So their data quality might be pretty good. At the end of the day, though, they're still using a smartphone typically. And they're not taking the time, like in an off-road park, they're not taking the time to stop and start every single line segment of every single trail and attribute it with the name of the trail, and they're not rating it. So it's a challenge. You end up it looks like a pile of spaghetti.
Oh, it's like Johnson
Right?
Valley when I I'm like, oh, let me find some trails, using Gaia. And and I'm like, holy heck, look at all the people going all over the place. Yeah, is this guy on crack or what was going on here?
And so part of the challenge for us is, that's competition for us. Not really the best because people don't really know yet that it's really not great until they get into it a lot of times. Again, I'm not saying all of it's bad.
Sure.
But there's still a lot to be desired in a lot of these. So, but the problem is the users and our wheeler friends, they see the app and they see the marketing for it and they see them showcasing the number of miles mapped, as they say. And it's an immense number. And they're like, oh my gosh, they've mapped everything. Well, not really.
But how accurate is it?
Exactly. So, and
quality over quantity.
Exactly. So, our limit for our company is just how fast I can get the data collected. But I think anybody that's used it just wants me to map faster because they want to see our maps other places because they trust it. So It's just kind of, that's it. It's us and everybody else in that field pretty much for the most part. So, and there's some great apps though that really do a good job. You mentioned Gaia earlier. I think Jason, that's a good one. that one's an example of one where it kind of depends on how much you want to pay for what level of access that you want. There's different tiers to use in Gaia, but it is a very useful tool. I use it at times. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
It is useful. You can load maps into it. You can suck down USGS topo maps. And there's a lot of information you can glean from it. But to import data, GPX file or a KML or something like that, has to be coming from a trusted friend or somebody like that you would trust to say, yeah, I want to run this route, and you trust your friend and go use it. So it's a useful tool for that.
Right. And that's exactly why, if I can interject, that's what I really liked about Gaia was because I've got, a bunch of people in our 4-wheel drive club that use GPS and a lot of them use Gaia. And it's like our adopted trail, for example, CJ with a CJ went out and mapped all, ran Gaia while we did our adopted trail. So we had a really accurate map of our adopted trail, which was huge. And then I used it, took that map, and then we had so many trees down this year that I marked where these major fall zones were, and where we stopped clearing trees, and I could share that with the Forest Service. So there is applications and the layers there that are great, but that's the big difference. Your app is like super accurate, and it's gonna stand the test of time
because of the data where it's coming from, and how it's collected exactly. Yeah. So segue into one other type of app, and this is a new one, and you and Rich talked about it a little bit, and Jason, I know you met Tim Cromer, who I was with BFG. So back in it was after I came off the Rubicon, actually mapping it with John. I got home, and Tim Cromer gave me a call. I've known Tim for a long time, since he was back east originally in the Carolinas. He was in South Carolina. So Tim calls me and said, hey, I've caught wind of something that's being developed in BFG, and I want y'all to talk. I know that you are the perfect team, you and Jennifer, to talk to them about this. Kind of out of my wheelhouse, but I know enough to know that they really need to be talking with you. So I said, okay. So we started talking, and they basically disclosed that they are doing an off-road navigation app. And I thought, interesting. Well, we love BFG, but I hope this isn't like competition for us, right? It's like, how do I do this? So we just kind of decided just to kind of roll with it and see where it goes. And as talks progressed, it really started going in a positive way. And the way it landed was early this year, we basically worked out a licensing arrangement for all of our data that I've collected to be able to be utilized in the On Trail app. Okay. Cool. And so it was a huge moment for us, and it was cool because we were all just happy with how it all turned out, except Jennifer. So what she had to do was kind of unmap our maps and put them back in a data format that could be ingested into the On Trail app. A lot of work on her part, and I assisted in every way I could. And so by the time the app was launched, On Trail had Cartotracks data in there, and our branding's even visible. And the coolest part is we can keep doing what we're doing, selling maps on our website, our maps that we make. So that's an exciting moment for us. We were really happy, and still are. I shouldn't say we still are. We're extremely happy with how the app turned out. As with any new app, there's little challenges you see that pop up. There's issues. I've been really happy with how proactive they've been in addressing those. And we're kind of special, I guess, because we got a licensing arrangement with them and been working with them as they developed it. But they are responsive. And so if you have an issue with it, let them know, and they take a look at it. So, and address it if they can. So it's just part of technology these days. Things crash. It's trying to figure out how, what model phone do you have? What updates have you run? All this stuff that most people don't even think about, but you want it to work. And every user wants it to work, but there's always challenges. So it's nice to see them being proactive with that. There's a lot of cool features in the app that we like, and things that we are privy to that aren't yet in it, that will be, that are coming, that are really exciting. That's cool. And we really like to see that. They also, a real important point I want to point out about the On Trail app, compared to what I defined earlier as apping companies. In On Trail, they designate verified and unverified data. So you have a distinction now in this app. You don't see that in other places. You have no idea who that data came from in a lot of these other apps that I don't even need to mention. It doesn't matter. And then you have the top tier data, which is Cartotracks. So you have kind of 3 tiers inside that app. So any trail that you select in there and want to go and look at, maybe go run, will tell you if it's verified or unverified. And unverified doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It just means take it with a grain of salt. Use caution, educate yourself, maybe do a little more research if you feel necessary before going out there and running it, and make sure that you're in the right. But that's a big distinction, and we really liked seeing that with the app. That was impressive that they did that, and it didn't take a lot of work probably on their part, but it was a really important feature to have in there to be able to differentiate between those. So, and that's just important. From a land use standpoint, there's a lot of challenges. We are huge fans and endorsers of tread lightly principles. Yep. I'm a master tread trainer. I've been through training and know a lot about it. And I understand that, the biggest challenge with tread lightly and the whole point of why tread lightly exists is for education. And a big part of education and off-roading is maps, and having maps is an education. Really, if you have a good map and good quality data, maybe, that's educating yourself.
Yeah, this is the trail. Stay on the trail, and
exactly.
With your accuracy of the map, it's easier to stay on the trail and not get lost, if you will.
Right. Exactly. So, tread lightly. They have a new director, Matt Caldwell. Interestingly enough, he's got a background that came out of the BF Goodrich family. So wow. He's now head of Tread Lightly, or the director. Tread Lightly board has members of, in fact, I think Harold, might be the head of the board, and Harold's with BF Goodrich. So BFG sits at the table. They're they're a great company. We're really happy to be partnered with them.
Awesome.
So that's kind of it in the data world. It's just making sure you've got good data, verified or unverified, know the difference. Just like to try and teach people as much as I can, wherever I can, because I'm kind of I think, in talking about this in the off-road world, it seems like. So it's important.
Yeah. And how great is it to have a company like BFG, validate that what you're doing is something that they want to be involved with and promote. That's super cool.
For sure.
It is.
So there's, a subscription through that BFG app,
correct,
as well. Different, you can get a month or 3 months or a year or the premium. So is that going through the BFG app? Does that get you all the Carto maps, or how does that parallel with, and not compete with what you got going on?
It benefits us. I'll say that. So the subscription in the On Trail app does access all of our data, not maps.
Okay.
So that's the differentiation here. It still is a display of data. And there were some challenges that we worked through. It was a lot of it was Jennifer working with them and trying to figure out how to get it to display in a way that was as map-like as we could be.
Okay.
Where you don't have, for instance, Little Sluice and the text for Little Sluice laid right over the top of a pit toilet symbol, right? So you can't read Little Sluice. That's cartography, and trying to make it work in the app. There were some challenges with that, and they worked with that. So I think they did a pretty good job of it collectively. Cool. I think it turned out pretty well, on the back end, but it does get you access to all those. There is, however, no link. So if you buy an actual map from us through our website, there's no way I can comp you a subscription to the On Trail app or something like that. And it doesn't go the other way either.
I see.
So they're still isolated systems and totally independent, because they're two different things. One's a data display, one's a map.
Okay.
So, they're different, but still, they did a really good job with how they're displaying it and conveying that data in an appropriate way that's still visually appealing and legible and easy to read for a wheeler, or you're not having to tap stuff all the time to try and see what it is, what the feature is. It's displayed in the best way we could. So,
that's great. So, very, very cool. Well, yeah, thanks for clearing that up, because that
sure.
is the huge difference, right? Is what we're learning here, map versus data, and you want an accurate map. Go to Cartotracks.
Garbage in, garbage out, or good stuff in, good stuff out.
And and then the accuracy. Is it? I don't know. I remember when GPS like kind of just became available to the general public and affordable. How much accuracy has improved since when it was first available to the public till now? You talked about that, high-end device that you have to get all this telemetry and all the, pinpointing, triangulation. So you have super accurate data, but do you know a little bit of the history of the GPS there of how because I know when it first came out, it wasn't super accurate, right?
That's right.
Public.
That's correct. And the military, I mean, it's, national defense kind of stuff.
Yeah, they can get down to a gnat's ass.
Initially. Right. Initially. But a lot of that's opened up now, and it's certainly improved. The technology's improved. We talked about GLONASS earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now having access to that. Originally, those early ones you described we're only seeing the GPS constellation, so 5 satellites overhead and Chocolate Thunder.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great, but now, so we brought in GLONASS into the equation with the GPS chips being able to see those. The smartphone, if you have access to a cellular tower and your cell signal, that's a third cog in the wheel that also improves accuracy. So your phone will work in airplane mode with a Cartotracks map in the Mojave Desert in airplane mode because it still is going to see GPS and GLONASS. But if you have cell signal, it will bring that into the equation and improve your accuracy to a further degree and make it even better. So it has improved. The United States and other countries right now are already actively launching another GPS constellation. Most people don't even know this, but they're being launched, and that will further improve our accuracy. They're even better. The signal's better from the satellite itself, and it's going to be a matter of time before the hardware manufacturers, the phone manufacturers, catch up to that and can then communicate with those new satellites. But that will improve our accuracy even more. So you're going to see, I'd say in the next 5 years, probably, you're going to see accuracy just become phenomenal, which is good. It helps us all from our business standpoint. Even I'm not worried about it. The effort that we put into making a map still, whether we have competitors using good data or not, it's still the full process for us. And the mapping is important, and the cartography, that's something that most folks don't know how to do. So,
well, on your end, I mean, the accuracy is critical, but I mean, on the user end, our side, I mean, as long as we're, sub meter, I think we're probably really good, I mean, earlier in the conversation with you, I mentioned differential GPS. The only reason I know about that is because that's the golf course side of what I do, and the irrigation system that I helped install many years ago. The designer used a differential GPS system because they needed that hyper accurate thing to be able to decide where each sprinkler on the golf course was going to be located. So the guy had a backpack. They set up a stationary location that was known up by the maintenance building, and so they had the backpack with the antenna on it, and that was being told that was within half an inch or something like that. So, but on the for just driving a vehicle around on city streets or even on the Rubicon Trail, a meter's good.
Yep. Yeah. So that'll help for the user. As that accuracy improves in the next years, that will definitely improve. Right now, I mean, as long as you're on the trail, like you said, you're going to get in the neighborhood and know what you need to be on. But it's garbage in, garbage out. Mm-hmm. The better data we have on the front end, for sure,
absolutely,
definitely helps. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, my generation, my age, I'm 42 now, so like I grew up. I remember the first GPS my dad bought was like a Magellan handheld for work. He owned his own business, and I remember seeing that and playing with it, and just I was fascinated by it. It was the neatest thing. But I mean, I remember life before smartphones.
Sure, so do I.
I mean,
my
first scrambler had a carburetor on it. I mean, it's I know analog and I know digital, so I'm really blessed in the generation and just where I fell in history, I guess, where I can talk to old guys that are trying to figure out how to download a map on a smartphone and,
just give me a paper map.
Yeah. I mean, I hear that. I hear the frustration, but I can connect to them because I remember life before smartphones.
Sure.
So I've learned them in my lifetime, and yeah, I kind of see it as a positive thing for me that I can bridge that gap. I'm not just a millennial kid that his nose is in a screen his whole life. I've been outside. I get out, but I understand the frustration with it.
Yeah.
When you get to a point where it's just not working, fortunately with our experience, I've got enough go arounds and I've heard enough issues, and we figured out the solution that I could say, oh, I know what's going on. You don't have this turned on or something, and then it just fixes it. It's a simple fix and they're happy. So, yeah.
Well, how often, this is something that happened to me years ago when I had one of those Garmin, Nuvi mounted up on the dash of my Grand Cherokee. With the color touchscreen and whatnot. But one time I was driving up 880 along the bay, and I looked over at the map. I was navigating with it, and it showed me driving literally in the water. I was in my vehicle was in the bay, and I'm like,
Spy hunter.
So I guess my question is, how often does the GPS network kind of go haywire? Because that's the only thing I could figure what was going on at that point in time.
Yeah, not very often. In fact, I've never really seen it go completely berserk like that. Yeah, and as we launch more and there's more going up, it's just going to improve and fix that network. So, yeah.
Nothing's foolproof, but it's getting better every day, right?
Yep, it is. There's just so much to technology. There's better imagery, satellite imagery. There's some times where we have to do some, research and that kind of thing using imagery. In the eastern United States, it's completely useless. I don't understand. Some park owners will say, why don't you put, imagery in there? And it's like, it's treetops. That's all you're seeing is just green lumps everywhere. You can't see a trail through that.
Right.
So, but I get it out in the desert. That's valuable at times. There's some risk to that. If y'all are familiar, like around Moab, in the desert landscape, there's like a crust that's actually a little microorganism that's growing on the surface. And if you drive across it, it squishes it and it'll leave your tracks through it. And it takes generations for that to regrow.
Yeah.
And so that's not good, but even more so,
cryptobiotic soil.
That's correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
From
so
Moab,
I didn't want to sound
that.
nerdy. I left that up to Jason.
See, there you go.
Yeah. But you leave those tracks and then it's on imagery, and somebody sees it on imagery and says that's a track. Well, not necessarily. That doesn't mean you should go there.
No.
So, there's issues with using imagery too. So there's a lot of risk in all this stuff.
Sure.
But that's why it's good to go with a trusted mapping provider like Cartotracks.
Yeah. Cartotracks.
That's right. So, but my name's on the line. If we put something out there that's wrong, I need to be accountable for that. So,
no, absolutely. And
trust us. So,
yeah. And you're using the latest technology that is available to you to produce the best map possible. So, you can put your head down on the pillow at night knowing you did the A+ plan effort.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Yep.
So let's talk about some Jeeps that you have. You mentioned your 82 Scrambler that your wife pushed it. Yeah, first aid. And you still have it. I know you got a few other cool Jeeps in the archive there, the quiver.
I got a
stable.
I have two Scramblers. I've got two 82 Scramblers now. I have an 86 Grand Wagoneer.
Wow.
91, I think it is, Briarwood, which is a Cherokee that's still, it's real fancy. It's still like in the box. It's got the wood paneling on the side.
It's an XJ, with the wood paneling. Yeah.
I love it.
So that's going to probably be our son's. He's of the age where he's starting to think about vehicles. And so we've done some work on it together. We've got some more things to do, but I'm going to have him put a little sweat equity in it so that he's got a little bit more value in the thing.
Make him earn it.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's the plan for that one. The Grand Wagoneer sitting in the driveway. I've got a 6-liter LS that I bought from a friend that's going to go in it. Nice. It'll be cool. That's going to be the goal is to make that a daily for the wife.
Okay.
With a supercharger?
Pretty cool. Oh, who knows? there's always room for more horse pressure, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's no replacement for displacement.
That's right. Yeah. So,
Except for maybe
that's the plan for that one.
Pressure.
And then, yeah. And we've got a 1950 Willys Jeepster, which is
nice.
kind of an unusual thing.
Yeah.
So it and my original Scrambler, when I say original, the first one I had, both of those are stashed in a neighbor's barn. And the Wagoneer and the Cherokee are in the driveway, and we've got a Miracle Trust building that we're about to build if it'll quit raining in Alabama.
Send it our way. Send it our way.
I know.
We'll take any bit of rain we can get right now.
Anything would be great.
I hear you. I wish I could send it your way, but anyway, we've got about 2,400 square feet of concrete to pour for this building. So it'll be a nice big shop to move into and be able to work in. I've got a 2-car garage right now, and I know. Hey, call Miracle Trust. Seriously,
I know. Well, I just need the property to put it. I'd have to tear down my house to put the Miracle Trust
barn-dominium, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went in with a friend of ours here in town. They're going to do the barn-dominium route, and so when we ordered the buildings, we did it at the same time. They both came on the same flatbed, delivered, and so they're sitting on his property. Couldn't get a flatbed in on our street, so we're gonna have to shuttle the pieces over here. We've got a tight little cul-de-sac street. So, but anyway, my plan is to move all the Jeeps inside there and work on them. I do 99% of the work on my Scrambler that I do all my driving with, and put in two-post lifts in the shop, and I've got a little side room for welding and fabrication that I can cordon off so I don't get grinder dust over the main bay. And I've thought it all out. We rode up to Ian Johnson's shop. He's about an hour from us in Tennessee, and went up there and looked at his. He's got a Miracle Trust building, and wanted to put my eyes on it. It was just awesome, really cool design.
Big tire garage.
And that's right. And the owners, by the way, of Miracle Trust are Wheelers. We're going to see them at Trail Hero.
Oh, okay.
Good friends of ours now, and just great folks. Corey Seacrest and his wife, they have really done a good job with the company. So both veterans, and so it's a veteran-owned company, and cool structure and design. It's something that somebody can do themselves if they choose, or hire it out. I'm going to have pieces that I'm like, I can't pour concrete. I'm going to have a guy come and pour concrete for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'd screw that all up, I'm sure, but. We're going to rent a 4-wheel drive Lowell lift and lift these trusses up, and they're tied together with wooden, they call them purlins and girts. That's what ties the trusses together. Mm-hmm. So like a 2x8, 2x10 board that ties them together, and then you can skin it with whatever you want. But it's kind of nice because you have steel construction, but then the lumber gives you a lot of expandability. You can do whatever you want with the exterior. You can do an asphalt shingle roof. I went with all metal, so my roof will be metal, my sides will be metal. But you could break it, you could do whatever you want. Yeah. So pretty cool system. So, but anyway, the Scrambler, the main Scrambler that if you follow us on social media, the pictures I post of it, the white one, that's my primary driver. I'll be driving it from Alabama all the way to San Hollow at the end of this month.
Okay,
I'm hardcore, man.
I like it.
Yeah. And so this year, my wife and son are cheating. They're flying out and flying home. It lines up with his fall break, though. So
okay,
I'm going to beat them out there, hopefully, or at least get there about when they get there, and pick them up at the airport. And then we'll have that full time before Trail Hero begins, and then the full Trail Hero event, and then put them on a plane back home. And then I start driving back home after that. So I've got a trailer with a rooftop tent, and I just drive till I'm done for the day and stop somewhere and sleep. Just climb up in the tent and sleep in the middle of a cornfield or something where I don't have.
Wherever, yeah.
Oh, I can't stop at truck stops. It's just too loud.
Too loud.
Lights and you hear everything through a tent. So
and then you got those lot lizards and everything else there. So
lot lizards.
So yeah.
But you just got that trailer with the rooftop tent, right? Pretty recently,
I've borrowed the trailer before. A good friend over in Georgia's loaned it to me before. Last year, I towed out a trailer that I restored. It was a 1947 Bantam trailer. which was like a civilian model, had a tailgate, which was nice. The military ones were solid back, so you couldn't drop a tailgate. But I restored the thing and built a lid for it, built a rack, and had a Tepui rooftop tent on it. Not to sound too overlandery here.
You're
but,
getting way overlandish here.
Full
Next,
disclosure,
scottles.
I don't have a scuttle.
Okay,
I was going to tell you I do not have a scuttle. I'm going to have a sticker made for my door that says driver does not carry scuttle. And I don't have any Max Tracks either.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Excellent.
And I don't know how to cook at all. So I'm pretty much not an overlander. I'm an overlander in tent only.
Yeah. We call it rock landing. We do rock landing.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, so we rock crawl and then we kick it up a notch with our food and beverage. So
that's right.
Gotcha.
But no traction boards, no rooftop tent. Well, so a couple of our friends have rooftop tents, but they have Toyotas too. So they make a lot of poor choices in their life.
That's right. They drive Toyotas and whatnot.
Oh man, you should tell them to seek help or something.
That's right. That's right. Therapy.
That's right.
So speaking of overlanding, when I do drive out, I'll mention an app. I have no affiliation with this app, but it's ironically enough, the name of the app is iOverlander.
Okay.
But it's actually really useful. People use it. It's crowdsourced information, but people will just post basic, really simple overnight camping sites all over the world. And so I've found that while I'm driving the I-40 corridor, I drive 40 from Memphis all the way to Flagstaff when I'm going to San Hollow. So it's just a straight line on I-40, but I'm good for like 10 hours a day driving the Scrambler. And about that, you typically, barring no mechanical issues, I got to kind of look. I might be an hour or two from where I might feel like I'm going to need to stop, and I'll pull that up. I'll pull off and, refuel or something, and I'll start scouting out ahead of me. And people will just post places where you can just camp just for an overnight. And, a rooftop tent, the only thing that touches the ground is your tires and the legs of the ladder.
Yeah.
No impact. It's really simple. And so I found that really useful. It's handy. And I like to try and just find places that are literally out in the field, or on a road, next
off
to a field
path
or
a little bit. Yeah.
Where nobody's going to mess with you. It's quiet. And I get up in the morning.
Too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I do that. I get up in the morning and I do have a fridge, a Dometic fridge in the back, and I keep cold coffee because it's easy. Got to have some caffeine, but I can just pour it into a coffee mug and roll. I don't have to sit there and boil water and make coffee. So I'm ready to go. So I'll just start driving again. So
you're easy.
But yep. But the Scrambler's, it's built for long distance travel like that. I mean, it's very comfortable for a Scrambler. It's leaf sprung. BDS springs are really soft. Ride's good. Fox 2.0 shocks. The longer wheelbase helps. I've got a full soft top. Usually run it with the windows out. I don't have air conditioning, so I drive with no air conditioning. So the windows out help to a degree till you get out west. But yeah, it's a fun experience. I'm wife and our son James has seen some cool parts of this country that most kids never see. There's so much to this country, and there's parks between here and there. I mean, there's some cool parks, Oklahoma and Kansas, Missouri. There's parks all over the place and neat towns. There's a little town, Tucumcari, New Mexico, is right after you exit the panhandle of Texas on 40, and that's the town the little kids movie Cars was modeled after.
Oh, really?
And
no kidding.
You hop off the interstate and it's just like the movie. Route 66 runs right through the middle of town. There's all these old Art Deco signs with old motels and gas stations, and it's like going back in time. It's so cool. And you just have to get off the interstate and look. It's neat.
What do you got for a drivetrain in that Scrambler?
So the engine is a 4-liter that's been stroked to a 4.8.
So it's straight six.
Straight six. Got a Griffin radiator in front of it with dual spall fans, PSC power steering. The clutch, I have a really heavy flywheel that's about 40 pounds from center force.
Wow.
Which stock, by the way, is about 17 pounds. So substantial increase in weight. But it's that rotating mass. So it pulls hills much better. You have that inertia. And then on trails, you just roll up a ledge. It doesn't stall because that rotating mass, it's hard to stop it.
Right.
So it's slow as Christmas off the line. I don't drag race it, but the engine makes quite a bit of torque. the flywheel does a great job of just keeping it moving, and then a center force clutch holds really well, and then it's got a T176 manual behind it and a completely built Dana 300 from Novak. Conversions. It's clock flat, 4-to-1. Ooh. They're shortened 300M. They call it a 300 RX output on the back. It's really short and it's a flange. And I think it's a 300M material. That's kind of one of the weak links in a 300. So,
Yep.
So we did away with all that. It's got that. I put a sight tube in it. They're aluminum pan on the bottom. Helps dissipate some heat, and it's clock flat and twin stick. So, real drive lines. The front still is a Dana 30 with stuff with RCV axles in it.
Okay.
And worn hubs. And then the rear is at this moment a Dana 44 out of an 86 CJ7. So I got the wide track width to match the front. But I learned in the Trail Hero trip last year that it is not up to snuff for the amount of weight I haul.
Right. With
fridge in the back, tons of spare parts and tools, and trailer. I had it on, a 36-gallon fuel tank that I have under it, because now I got a 400-mile range versus 100.
Nice.
But I had 3,500 pounds on that rear axle.
Wow.
We put it on some scales and carbon off-road last year, and after I had a problem. So the problem was I hit a bump in Oklahoma on I-40, because I-40 in Oklahoma is the worst stretch of interstate in the United States of America. And it bent the flange.
I was going to say, I'd put it up against some of our California roads.
Oh, guys, this is no.
Okay.
Oklahoma.
So
horrible.
You bent a flange?
Yeah. Bent the flange. Didn't know it. I didn't feel it. We felt a little bit of vibration, but nothing substantial. And then lost wheel bearing in just east of Amarillo, and I was dead in the water. I had every possible spare part and bearing, but I didn't have the means to press a bearing on that axle shaft. So, long story short, made some new friends in the middle of nowhere east of Amarillo. Dude's a wheeler, super nice guy, lives right near a canyon. Trying to think of the name of it, Palo Duro Canyon. There's some wheeling in the canyon. And anyway, got us fixed up. We spent the night with him, actually, and got a new bearing, pressed it on the shaft, not knowing it was bent, and hauled it all the way to Sand Hollow, and then figured out that it was bent in Sand Hollow off-road, Steve Nance's shop.
Steve Nance, yeah.
And Steve was like, oh, boy, yeah, there's your problem. We put it on jack stands and just ran it and saw it wobbling. We're like, oh, that's what it is. So just couldn't figure it out. And he's like, maybe you bent the flange. And so anyway, that's what it was. The little set 10 bearing just wasn't enough. And so I had a friend at home go in my garage and pull a shaft out of my garage that I had that I should have taken with me and ship it to me at Sand Hollow, and rode home on it. So current plan is just to Band-Aid it up. I'm going to weld on a Barnes four-wheel drive truss on top of it, and we're going to go. The gears are smoked on it. They got too hot. So I'm going to re-gear it, basically build the rear end, go to Sand Hollow and come home, and then order a Cartotracks housing with full float outers.
There you go.
So that's the fix. But
Jeep, just empty every pocket.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
So what
Yukon, our axle or gear sponsor, is just held up with everybody else in the industry with little bitty small parts holding up the whole process, and their zip locker is missing a part. They have some part that's holding it up. So instead of pulling the trigger on the Cartotracks, I decided I talked with them. They're like, why don't we just re-gear it and do a rebuild kit on it, and we'll send you a spare shaft that you can go ahead and press a bearing on. What a novel idea.
Concept.
And then I'll just take it with me. It's a cut to length axle, so I'll bring a cut-off wheel with me, and when I have something fail, hopefully I don't, but if I do, I can pull it out, cut it off on the side of the road to length, and slide it in, bolt it up, and keep going.
Off you go. Okay, cool.
That's the current plan. So,
all right.
We'll see how that pans out in couple weeks.
sounds like a good plan. Hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get there somehow.
Yeah.
What size tires are you running?
Currently a 33.
Okay.
So it's not huge.
No, that's good.
But with the driving I do, I don't need to be on giant tires.
No.
And I mean, I wheel it. I do wheel a lot of the trails, but I do a lot of riding shotgun. If I've got somebody local when I'm mapping an area, all I got to do is get there typically. So,
right.
But yeah, I do wheel it. Pretty capable.
I got to imagine when you're mapping, it's easier and better if you're a passenger, so you can jump out and do stuff and not, worry about negotiating an obstacle and try and gather data and all that stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. And actually, oftentimes, pretty much all the time, that person I'm riding with is the person that knows those trails so well. So all they got to do is verbally say, what's the name of the trail?
Perfect.
And yeah, so like, mapping S'more, Southern Missouri Off-Road Ranch. Brandon Powell's the owner of that park. It was an incredible experience. We started Monday morning and we were done by noon on Thursday, riding in a little Kawasaki Terex side-by-side thing. And there were some pretty challenging trails. Those I walked down. Usually I'd have him drop me off at the top and I'll just scramble down it with the GPS and he'd be down at the bottom by the time I got there. And since he knows the park backwards and forwards, he already knew which trail we were going to next. So we were really efficient going through the park. If I'm doing it solo, there's a lot of head scratching. Usually I'm working with a bad map. They usually don't have the best map to start with. That's why I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I got a map when I mapped Dirty Turtle, a park in northern Kentucky. It's a hilarious name.
Yeah,
Dirty Turtle.
I know. Yeah. They did the Ultra 4 race out there.
Ultra 4 races there, yeah.
Never heard of it until Ultra 4 race there.
The owners that are the owners now were just brand new owners at that time when I mapped it. And they gave me the map that the old park owners had made. And it was noon of the first day before I realized that the map was upside down. North was down.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense now. But all the text was upside down. So I can't work with a map upside down. So I'd have to turn it right side up with north up and get oriented and then flip it upside down to find the name of the trail.
That's funny. That's real funny.
Stuff us cartographers have to go through. But anyway. But yeah,
my God, yeah. the challenges of getting on. But I mean, come on now, you're having fun doing this, right? I mean, you're not just like it's like, you got to go to the office today, which would be like a badass trail sitting in somebody's rig or your rig. And I mean, that's like a dream job, right?
It is. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, that's the best job ever. And I'm not gonna lie, it definitely has its perks. There's definitely some fun moments, but I don't know. I mean, this is small business ownership at the end of the day. There's always challenges as you go through business. Probably one of the biggest challenges we have facing us today really is just convincing park owners that they need a map. A lot of them just think that what they have is fine, or they say, oh, well, this apping company has it mapped out. Well, it's not a map and it's not really mapped out. It's a pile of spaghetti. Nobody can navigate with that. So
yeah.
So that's a challenge sometimes selling them on it. Some of them just get it. Brandon Powell was one of those. And S'more, I just mentioned him. He was like, come map my park. I get it. I 100% need this. You're the best one that can do it. Let's do it. And it's easy for some. Others just don't get it. They just came from a different generation maybe, or, whatever. So it's just kind of that's a challenge. And really on the ground, I mean, I talked about Dirty Turtle jokingly, but really, it is a challenge to think and that one I was doing it totally solo. I didn't have a park manager running around with me, and I'd never been there before. So I literally had to walk into this park and collect all the data necessary to make a map that anybody on the planet could use and navigate with efficiently. That's a challenge. That's hard. And I mean, you have to be very spatially oriented and understand where you are and not get yourself lost in a park. And get turned around. There's a lot of challenges and then trying to figure out how to get through it efficiently, especially if you're doing a lot of it on foot, trying to figure out how to lay it out and where you're not backtracking and rewalking stuff. It's how to canvas the park in the most efficient way in a place you've never been before and don't even know what's over the next ridge. That's tough. I mean, that really is challenging. Most people don't even think about that either. So, but I'm proud of it when we're done. That's the best part about the job is looking back at that final map after Jennifer's made it look beautiful. And it's a map and we put it out there. It's something to be proud of. And I take great pride in the craftsmanship it takes to get to that point. So
awesome.
Yeah. It's it's cool.
Our listeners now have a better insight of behind the scenes of Cartotracks and what the difference is between mapping and data. And
right.
Awesome. Good.
Right. I mean, this has been great, and get to learn about you and your history, and the foreign country that you're from. So that's pretty cool. No, it's awesome, Jake. I appreciate taking time out of your schedule to sit down with us, and then you guys start working on that rear axle and get ready for Trail Hero here.
Yeah, Dynatrack's going to be a vendor there.
Are they really?
I'm sure they are.
Oh,
aren't
okay.
They?
Well, yeah. Curry's there.
Curry, Dynatrack.
Yeah,
they love to talk to us.
There's all kinds of.
You're talking
axles.
about a Spider Tracks housing, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty set on the Spider Track situation.
Can't go wrong
It's going to
there.
be a good solution for me. It's light and plenty strong for what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
So.
I watched. I rode in a bomber buggy that had Spider Tracks axles, and I watched a professional race car driver beat the snot out of that thing. And they just kept saying, "Give me more, give me more."
Is that all you got?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good fit. The problem is I'm going to want to put it under all of our Jeeps.
Yes.
And yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just open your wallet. It's all good.
Or maybe you can get a group discount or something. Buy 6 axles or 5 axles, get one free or something. You just never know. You can see what
I'll
you can
ask.
work.
I'll
doesn't hurt to
report back
ask.
my
Doesn't
findings.
hurt to ask. Well, hey, looking forward to seeing you and the family out at Trail Hero.
Definitely.
2021, the beginning of October here.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have to hook up out there and break some bread.
This is the sixth year of Trail Hero.
Yep. And this will be my second. Last year was my first. So
this will be my sixth.
Oh yeah, see?
Man,
you got in on the ground floor.
You're one of the OG.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hardcore driving out there in the scrambler.
Exactly.
So my hat's off to you to that.
You should drive the buggy.
Yeah, right. So
just carry spares.
Yes.
You just need spares.
Yeah,
That's all.
spares.
So Jake, how can people find you?
Cartotracks.com.
Cartotracks.
That easy.
Yep. And then on IG, it's just Cartotracks, and Facebook, Cartotracks.
Yep.
Yeah, super simple.
Right on.
That's it. And to contact me, all my info is on the website. My cell phone is on there. If you think you get a lot of extended auto insurance calls.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't call Jake for insurance here.
Oh my gosh.
Is this Jake with State Farm?
Oh, I literally answer any call. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's customers all over the country, so I get calls from all over the place. I just answer. As long as I'm not in the shower or asleep, I'll answer.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's great.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. When you called, it said foreign country here, and I didn't know if I pissed anybody off or anything. I was a little nervous. But no, there you go. Good old Alabama. So,
Yep.
Well, right on, Jake, and appreciate it. And this has been great. And looking forward to getting more involved with the Cartotracks here at Sand Hollow and driving those trails accurately now, and not ending up double Sammy to 777s to crossing over all these trails and ending up on the trail that I wasn't intended to be on.
Broken chain. Or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah.
Yep.
There's some good stuff out there. Yeah, I can't wait till you see this place, Chris.
I'm telling you.
So
All right. Well,
excellent.
thanks a lot, Jake.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later.
All right.
Bye.
Dropping some GPS knowledge bombs. How about that?
I feel so much smarter now.
Interesting, huh? All the technology that is always ever changing, but the key takeaway there, a couple key takeaways, is the accuracy of his mapping system.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that it is a true map. It's not a crowdsourced database that may or may not be correct.
That's right.
And he wasn't poo-pooing the other apps out there. I mean, he even admitted to using Gaia, and it has its place.
Sure.
But unraveling the spaghetti. So he said,
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's you got people like just driving in circles, and I do this when I'm making maps on Gaia. I forget to turn it off, and it's like, or turn it on, and I get,
sidetracked.
whatever. It's just not continuous or it's not complete.
Right.
So I get it. People could be, you could start guy up. Say you're at King of the Hammers, and you could be sitting in your campground. Oh, I'm going to start it now. And then you drive down, then you get distracted. You might take a right turn.
You might see somebody.
You go zigzag to go talk to them.
Let's go talk to Bob.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're zigzagging your way through Hammertown.
Right.
And then hey, let's go over to Chocolate Thunder. And then next thing you know, hey, we're going to head out to Outer Limits.
Yeah.
But we're going to stop it.
All that's recorded into your file, your King of the Hammers file, and then it's like, oh yeah, let me upload my King of the Hammers file to the old interwebs, and then boom, now we got your whole journey through
75 miles of going nowhere.
Yeah, that's kind of how cameras works.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was really interesting to learn that and what the difference was, because there's all kinds of different softwares out there, but and his isn't an app; it is actual maps that they make. So you go through the Avenza app, and that's his way of protecting that. That map, because if you just put a PDX file out there or whatever, GPX file or whatever, whatever the format is,
dot something.
Yeah. And, you buy it and then you're like, oh yeah, here you go, Chris and Jason and Bob and Chuck and Larry and Phil and Jose and Daryl, his other brother Daryl, and it's like the old, the Mrs. Fields Cookie recipe. Once it gets out there, then there's no reason to sell cookies anymore, right?
Exactly.
So everybody's got to make their nut and do their thing, and tremendous amount of time and effort and logistics behind the scenes to make this happen. So
he talks about how much work goes into it. So you definitely want to protect your intellectual property.
Yes, very well said. And so Cartotracks.com, just go there and check it out. And like we were saying, it's a la carte, so you can pick the area that you're going to, or if you're West Coast wheeler like us, then you don't need to download the East Coast maps and stuff unless you plan on taking a trip out there, which one of these days I'd really like to.
A lot of mud.
A lot of rain, I guess.
A lot of trees, a lot of mud, a lot of trees,
but
a lot of tree roots, and
I hate mud.
Hill climbs,
but I'd still love to check it out.
Oh yeah,
there's some killer rocky stuff out there too. It's not like granite, but it's some ledges and wedges and all kinds of stuff to get
trees
into.
And roots and mud.
But I am really looking forward to learning more about this and using. I'm going to use Cartotracks for Trail Hero.
Right.
So
Jake's going to be there also.
Yeah, and then obviously the next event after that, because skiing's going to take over hopefully soon. After Trail Hero,
well, all these fires are going to keep melting the snow.
I don't know, and then we will, boom, it'll be Hammer Time.
Hammer Time.
So I've got a pretty comprehensive
Boone Road.
Read that freaking Boone Road. I've got a pretty comprehensive list of trails, but I would love to get the Cartotracks version so that I can see.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many little gems out there too. So.
Crazy
and just
stuff.
Fire up the old Tesla buggy iPad there, and then got my maps are right there. So
and you'll drive off and go there, and I'm going to be like looking at you in my little Jeep and be like, well, I'm going to go find a one.
A one. No, you can do like a 6, 7.
Scary.
You do it. You just got to air down.
Air down for what?
Air down for wheeling is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
looking at beadlocks, actually.
So you should beadlocks and 40s. Stickies.
Sticky 40s.
So there, so anyways, check that out. And then, he made mention of the BFG app. So I downloaded that and started checking that out. So that's another option out there. But, it's not a map based, if you want the really detailed stuff, you need to go to cartotracks.com.
Correct.
So, but they do have a cool partnership with BFG, and that sounds like that's working out well for them. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, hope you enjoyed that episode. It was we enjoyed it.
Yeah,
talking to Jake and
learned a lot.
Yeah, bless your heart, Chris.
Y'all, how y'all doing?
So the Southern people were just laughing, but the rest of it, I thought it was you need to look it up. Bless your heart.
That's right.
Yeah, bless your
On
heart.
that note, no, we're not quite done.
Oh, we're not.
No.
Oh. But wait, there's more.
I
Did
just
he
wanna
get a
do the
Ginsu
closing.
knife set?
Yeah, Ginsu knife. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, let's just make sure, if you want to get a hold. So remember, Cartotracks.com.
Yep, Cartotracks.com.
If you want to get a hold of Jason or I, you can do that. Chris or Jason at wheelingwineandwhiskey.com.
Does Lorenzo still have an email?
Oh yeah, he's got an email.
Oh.
I don't think he's gotten.
Has he gotten anything?
I don't know. I don't know. He's been asking for a custom keyboard, hoof sized.
And then the phone number, we had a phone call from Australia. How great is that?
Man, it works.
Thank you, Charles. That I feel the love.
408
Glad you got your shirt.
800 5169.
That's right. 408-800-5169.
Love to hear from you.
Just call with anything. Whatever.
Give us shit. You can be friendly. You can be nice.
You can bag on the Snailer boys,
Yeah.
Toyota suck. Whatever. It's all good. So,
and you just check out our website, wheelingwineandwhiskey.com, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, where you can see our merchandise, which would, the holidays are coming up.
sure. Never too early to start shopping for the holidays.
Yeah, you never
There you go.
know.
Like
So
Chris.
holidays are right around the corner.
Nothing says I love you more than a nice ultra mega koozie.
or a hoodie or a beanie.
yeah.
I'm telling you,
Swag it up.
it's going to get cold soon. You might want to cuddle up with your girl or guy with a nice hoodie.
Whatever your preference
Or whatever
is.
your preference is. That's right. So,
Never know nowadays.
yep. I don't know. You guys.
I don't have anything. You can cozy up next to a Toyota person.
Oh shit!
Boy,
I don't
that
know
would
about
really,
that.
really change things up, wouldn't
No,
it?
no.
All right.
No.
Well, enough of the shenanigans. Check it out. Check it in. Love it, live it, race it.
Wow.
Oh, I'm still on Will
right
Specs there now.
On that note, we're out.